All right, welcome back here, Totem Pole Nation. We are live here on a Tuesday in studio. I got my main man, Johnny Bottles, here representing the Central Florida location. I'm over here on the South Side representing. A huge shout out to my boys, Lakewood Spartans. They have their first game coming up next Friday, Palmetto. And just a big shout out to all the teams over here in south end of St. Petersburg, St. Pete High, Gibbs, Boca Ciega. Just rooting for all you guys. Just excited to get back to, one of the greatest things in the world, I believe, is high school football. One of the purest things. Sooner or later, what they've done to the college game will transition over to high school, and then they'll start doing it to middle school football. So let's keep high school as pure as we can for as long as we can. But what's going on, my man Johnny? Great seeing you, brother. How is everything going? What's on your mind this morning?
I got to give another dog, well, actually two dogs, another sulfur dip, man. They've got this skin allergy.
Oh,
Can't shake it. I shook it in two of them, but I can't shake it in two of these other huskies. And they're just digging and scratching. And, my life revolves around dogs over here, when no one's home. It's just I'm the dog father. I take care of all the dogs with all their freaking needs. And they all have different personalities. And they all talk to you in different ways. Huskies are very vocal. Arr, arr, arr,
yeah.
arr. And then I get, oh yeah. They're doing a madness to me some mornings. Oh yeah.
uh,
And I got to roll with that sometimes. But the sulfur dip is a chemical you buy. It comes in a bottle like that off of Amazon. You mix it with a gallon of water, 4 ounces, and it smells like rotten eggs.
ooh,
Literally, I mean, you once you mix it up, you got to step away for a little bit to get used to it. I had to put one of those, the old COVID mask on. I think I had one laying around here somewhere. I put that on, and rubber gloves, and it stains your skin yellow.
hmm
You got to go in a shower with Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and try to get it off your skin. It comes off a dog hair after a while, but it's supposed to kill whatever skin allergies dogs would have. Ringworm, they do get ringworm, roundworm, uh, uh, yeast, um, and they got the yeast allergy.
oh
And
man,
in a dog, if you see a dog that's got like white fur or white patches, and it's got like a little yellowish tint in certain spots of that dog's got a yeast allergy. And I've got that with my two dogs here, Sasha and Angel. Angel's got it around her neck and her ears, and Sasha's got it behind her ears, in her ears, on her tail, on her sides. They scratch the ears. You get it. They get in their ears. They scratch there with their hind legs. Then they
mm,
scratch under here. Then they scratch their hip, their sides, and they spread it all around. So
man.
essentially, if you're having breakfast right now, folks, it's jock itch for dogs, is what it is. Essentially, they get it in mucous membrane or what in a moist area. So, and dogs don't sweat like we do. They sweat through panting. So Wayne Klingman writes, the great Mr. Big has chimed in. Have you tried a new food? Helped a lot here. Wayne, what I'm doing right now is they were on Rachel Ray Nutrish Kibble, is what they were on. And now my wife and I, we've got a rice cooker that does cups. We cook a batch of homemade food whenever we need to. It's rice, it's canned peas, canned green beans with the water drained, um, chickpeas for protein, and maybe a can or two of the canned chicken. You ever see the canned chicken in the store next to the tuna fish in the aisle? You've seen that before, Coach. I throw a big can of that in there too, and they eat that like it's somebody's going to steal it from them. They go crazy over that more so than the kibble. They would pick through the kibble and nibble at it, and not because they probably knew it was bad for them. And now with this homemade dog food, it's cheaper than a big bag of kibble. I was buying a $45 big ass bag of kibble from the box stores, and now I just make this, and we keep a big Tupperware container of it in the fridge, and it's made a difference in two, but it hasn't
Really?
made a difference in the two that I referenced earlier, Sasha and Angel. So, like it or not, they're getting another sulfur dip today.
Yeah, that's the thing with the animals, they're like little kids, they
Mm-hmm.
cannot tell you what is wrong with them. And yeah, you gotta try different things. But yeah, I was right on the same path as what Mr. Klingman was saying as well. We had a dog that kept just getting the urinary tract,
Oh
and
yeah, that's a big one
we
too.
would talk to our vet, and then they had mentioned, well, maybe your dog food, and we talked to the place where we get the dog food, and they were like, well, look, try this, switch this up, and yeah, never had that same issue. uh, but yeah, you hate it when your animals are not right and they can't tell you. I got one that Malaysia over here. She's got a leaky eye. Like her eye is just having all kind of fungus grow from it. You wet the napkin and get it out of her, but it's like, man, what did you eat or what did you do? And that's the thing. She'll roam around this backyard sometimes, and birds will come by and drop a fish, and the next thing I know, I just smell fish
She's eating a
breath just
fish.
reeking. Yeah, and I look over at her, and she just got her tongue out, just happy as hell. Like, look what I got, Daddy. Look at it.
Wow.
Yeah, I got fish
Wow.
breath.
Well, you know what dogs do. If you ever see a dog rolling in the grass, it means that they found something that smells great to them, and it could be some issue that came from another dog or another animal that was deposited on your grass, and that could be a cat, a mouse, a bird, whatever smells good to them. They want to roll around, and they'll do it. And these two like to roll around, the two that I talked about earlier. So I think that's how they get it in your ears, and it just yeah, it spreads, man. It's terrible. I give them doggy Benadryl.
Does it help them
Dog
sleep and
Benadryl.
relax? Does
What's that?
it help them sleep and relax?
It helps them relax, and it also stops the itching. So they get at nighttime they get two doggy Benadryls. If they're scratching real bad in the morning, they get two more. But they've been checked for ticks. They've been checked for fleas.
Yeah.
None of that's going on. I got $60 Seresto collars. The wife bought $60 for 4 dogs. $240 plus tax. But knock on wood, no fleas, no ticks. Just that yeast allergy. I can't get rid of it. I can't shake it. Sasha scratched her ears so bad, there's no hair on the tips of her ears. It's pink.
Poor thing. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Raw. Mm.
Yeah. It's so and then I got one dog that's blind.
How
The
old is
first
that?
she's 10 and a half. Ava
Okay.
is. And she's the first one we ever had. And she's diabetic. And I give her 2 shots of insulin a day. Got to do what we got to do. And
Yeah.
Ava started to get cataracts. And they came in. One came in real fast in one eye, and one's creeping up on her in this eye. So she can't see too well. She's better with distance than she is close up. I mean, you hold a dog biscuit down to her, any kind of treat, and she just looks at you like, "What do you got?" And then she smells it and she goes for it. So you got to do what you got to do for our four-legged friends. I always say we don't deserve dogs. They make us do the right thing. So you got to take
Mm.
care of them. You got to love them because they love us unconditionally. You know that, dude. You got Malaysia there taking care of
Yeah.
you, and you're taking care of her. Dogs are great company. They really are. They really are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My daughter one time said, who is your best friend? And I said, well, that's a trick question. Your mom is. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. You know, your dog Asia, that's your best friend. I was like, yeah. Well, how come that? She said, well, look, why don't you throw mom in the trunk for 5 minutes, open it up the trunk and see how she reacts, and then throw Asia in the trunk for 5 minutes and see how she reacts. Asia will be happy to see you. Mom will probably stab you. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right.
Right.
So, hey, that's a good life lesson, and I'll lead into our life lesson today is learn from losses, and that's the thing. I had somebody say the other day, it was like, either I don't look at it as a loss, I look at it as a learn. You learn from things, but yeah, the message, a hungry stomach, an empty pocket, and a broken heart can teach the best life lessons. sometimes.
Wow.
And I'm sure we've probably had a
Wow.
little bit of all of that. Sure,
Where
you've
do you
had
get
that
these things
before.
from? Where do you get these things from? Out of a fortune cookie, or you just invent those sayings? That's a hell of a saying right there, dude. You ought to put that on a plaque and hang it on the wall.
You
That is a
know,
hell of a saying right there.
it is, and it's funny because I'll scroll through things, and I don't discriminate wherever I find them, wherever I see them, and if I like it, I'll just take a picture of it,
Right.
and I'll borrow it, and I'll borrow it from coaches, from best friends' moms, from just people have so many good life lessons that are out there. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna borrow this, and this is going to be our topic, and this one right here, yeah, somebody posted that the other day, and I was like, man, let me take a picture of that. I might need that, and so yeah, man, it's just that's just kind of how I find them, and there's a lot of people that always put them up. One of my best friends, Jared Lovern, his mom always posts, just stuff that hits you in the heart. Uh, there's there's another girl, I think Lori Anderson. She always posts just so many funny things on Vicky Anderson. I'm sorry. She always posts amazing stuff on Facebook that just has me just laughing my guts off. I wish we could get her on here to find out where she finds this stuff. She probably does the same thing I do. What I do, I'll scroll through social media feeds, whether it's Twitter. I still don't know how Instagram works. So usually it's just Twitter and Facebook, and I'll find cool stuff and be like, well, that sounds like a good one to use, and we'll just
I haven't
freestyle
figured
it.
out Instagram either. I mean, maybe Totem Pole should be on Instagram because that's a big platform. All the kids go to Instagram. They Facebook's for the old people now. They say the kids say Instagram is where all the kids go. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
But
That's one thing. I got the granddaughter, the oldest granddaughter, she's back in town. Miss Sophia. So I cannot wait to see her. And yeah, she's my little social media icon. She's gonna hook pop all she's the one that got me rolling through Twitter, the TikToks, man. She's the one that showed me everything that I know so far. And I know she's got a couple businesses that she's in the mix on. And man, she might have her own channel here on Totem Pole, man, because she is just a very fiery entrepreneur. She's just brilliant, and she is a little warrior kid. And she's the one where I said I told the story a while back where I had her and she went through with the pooper scooper and got everything up, and then
oh
I was
yeah.
sitting on the side of the house like, Sophia, Papa stepped in the dog poop, and she ran over there. And I was like, nah, I'm just kidding. Gave her a big old hug. But yeah, that's who she is. And she's back in town, and I cannot wait to hang out with her this weekend. In fact, for my
Cool.
granddaughter's big birthday.
Nice. Nice.
But
Very nice. Yeah, kids will give you education when it comes to the internet.
that the thing too that's so cool is just their filter or filterless sometimes. I could say to one of the grandkids, who's your favorite cousin, and right away they'll just say the name. They won't think about it. They know who their favorite is.
Oh
you
yeah.
know it's so cool to have them just so pure and just so honest with you. And it can be brutally honest sometimes, but it's fun. It's good stuff. And yeah, just excited to see her. It's been a long time, and I know she missed her papa and her Lela. That's what she calls us because when she was kind of getting up there in age,
Mm-hmm.
we were like, well, look, we can't around her call each other by our names, or she'll be calling us by our names. And so we were like, well, you know, what do you want to do? And Anna was like, well, you know, I don't. Nana's not too bad because it kind of rhymes with Anna, And she was like, but I don't like that. And she was like, I'm Spanish and abuela and Lela. It's just I love that. And I was like, all right, Lela. And then she was like, well, how about you? I was like, well, for me growing up, my favorite person, was always, my pawpaw, And so yeah, it's just the funniest thing. And the one of the coolest stories is the littlest granddaughter that I have, Aria, who's about to turn 4 here. She like she used to always like at one time for a good year and a half, she had the same kind of hairstyle I did. And then, now her hair is beautiful, it's long, but every person she sees that is bald headed, and she doesn't discriminate. It could be a white guy, brown guy, yellow guy, red man. If he's bald headed, she associates that with Pawpaw. And she will. She'll tell her mama, like, hey, there's Pawpaw. And she's like, nope, that's not him. But her just telling me that, I was like, hey, man, at least she's thinking about me, you know?
That's cool. That's cool. So I switched brands on apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
I was doing the White House, I think it was called, and it had the lemon, the cinnamon, and the honey in it. And I ran out of that, and I happened to be at Aldi, and I was buying the canned goods because canned goods are pretty expensive at Aldi. I was buying the canned goods for the dog food and the rice. You get a big bag of rice there, cheap, and whatever else we need for the house. I said, oh, on my shopping list, I got apple cider vinegar. And they didn't have the flavored kind. They had the straight up kind, the kind you drink, the brown kind. And yeah, I first time I ever did a shot of the straight up kind with no flavoring in it. I did that yesterday morning, man. My nose hairs blew out. That lit me up. I felt that go down and hit bottom yesterday. And I said, that stuff I've been taking is drastically different from the regular straight up brown apple cider vinegar. That stuff lit me up yesterday. And I tried not to breathe out of my nose so I wouldn't taste it. Shot of water, still tasted it, still burning. And I did my protein shake after that. That cooled the fire that was in my stomach. But I will say all day long, I did not eat anything.
Wow.
All day long until about 8 o'clock last night. I
Holy
wanted a little
crap.
something to nibble on, so I got a beer and I got some pretzel sticks. Didn't want a sandwich. Didn't want the wife had cheeseburger casserole. Didn't want to eat that, and that just completely killed whatever cravings I may have had for food outside of some pretzels. Usually at night is when, dinner time. I'm good all straight on through till dinner time. And then after that, I eat and graze in the kitchen. You drink a couple beers, you want some chips or whatever. I try to stay away from the sweets. But that stuff, that high test, hardcore Audi apple cider vinegar tore me up yesterday. And I won't tell you about the what's a good word I can use here on YouTube. I won't tell you about
Floodgates.
the floodgates opened. You've had
Yep.
that happen. Where you
Oh
started doing the
yeah.
apple cider vinegar, you had the floodgates open. Yeah, yeah, the floodgates open for me, pal. And I was in and out. I felt like Clark Kent going to a phone booth, but I didn't come out as Superman. I came out spent. I was worn out. Maybe six
Awesome.
times. 6 times yesterday. I couldn't leave the house. Yes,
Holy
from
God.
that frickin' apple cider vinegar. So today, I haven't done the shot yet. I didn't want to be in agony doing life lessons. So I figured I'll do it after life lessons. And I'll throw a little honey in there, a little dash of honey.
You're gonna have a 6 pack by the end of the month. Keep that regimen up.
Man, let me tell you something. That blew me up. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I thought, I thought, Jesus, God Almighty, I can't believe this is hurting me that bad going down. I held the bottle up. I said, "Is there broken glass in this? What's going on?" But no, I was good. After an hour, the burning went away, and I didn't even drink a half a pot of coffee like I usually do every morning. I just had like 1 cup, and that was it.
Man, good
I
for
didn't I
you.
didn't feel like anything. And then I started to get dehydrated. I said, man, I better drink some water. So I drank
Yep.
2 big vats of water. Not to bore you folks with what goes on my kitchen and my bathroom, but I figure I'd throw that in because this man likes apple cider vinegar and he turned me onto it. So I figure I'd share my experiences with apple cider vinegar. But let's
Hey,
talk about loss. I had a hell of a loss yesterday, 6 times.
weight loss. Hey,
Yes,
uh,
yes. It's just,
those
it's
people, constipated people are so pissed off at you right now.
get a bottle of apple cider vinegar, folks, the brown kind. Good Lord Almighty.
Amen. Amen to that.
It will straighten you out completely. But I guess loss is something that everyone deals with. It's a common denominator everyone has. Nothing in this life's forever. Um, Nothing's permanent in this life. We're just passing through. This is just passing through to on our way to a better place, if you believe that. And everyone deals with it. Everyone deals with a family member. Everyone deals with a pet, the loss of a pet. And you can just take solace in knowing you'll see them again. And people deal with loss of stature, loss of money, loss of a job. It's a sad thing, but we persevere and we move forward. You always have to keep one foot forward and don't look back, folks. Don't look back. Just keep on stroking, keep on going. And like they used to say in the 70s, remember, keep on trucking. You used to see that slogan everywhere in the 70s. It was ubiquitous. Keep on trucking. The T-shirts, the bumper stickers, everybody had them. The R. Crumb comics where the guy had a big nose and he's leaned back and he had his feet were huge and he had one foot sticking straight out. And that was the keep on trucking guy. So I copyrighted that from R. Crumb, the cartoonist, the underground cartoonist. Happy Tuesday, gentlemen. Mackenzie Bellier. I hope I pronounced your name right, Mackenzie. Don't get mad at me if I didn't. I'm terrible with names. I'm good with faces. I'm just terrible with names. Mackenzie Bellier. Happy Tuesday. It's a happy Tuesday. Sunny here in Central Florida. It looks like we got a little overcast going on down there.
No, not too bad. Not too bad. It's bright. It's bright over here. I just got it kind of sitting at an angle.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Folks, down in Florida, the clouds burn away real fast. You'll have a rainstorm come through, and it will rain like the bejesus for 10, 15 minutes, and then it's
Yeah.
over. And then it's like it never rained. You can only, by your patio, your deck, or whatever, it's wet, but the grass, the ground, all cleared up. It's amazing. Florida weather is just unbelievable.
The Grateful Dead had a song, "Truckin'," right?
Yeah.
And I love that one.
Yeah, Grateful Dead had a lot of good songs that they weren't hits. They were album cuts, but everybody remembers them from back in the 70s. Nobody played singles. They all played on album rock radio. They played all album cuts and things like that. Some stations would play the entire side of an album, and the DJ would just jump in periodically to throw some commercials in. Whenever the DJ had to go to the bathroom, you could tell that they played the entire version of Stairway to Heaven. Or the live version of Freebird. Remember that? Leonard Skinner?
Yeah.
Yes, they would play
Bohemian
that.
Rhapsody too. That's a
Bohemian
long.
Rhapsody. The DJ was guaranteed a good 6 minutes or 7 minutes to go to the bathroom. I think Stairway was like that was like 10 or 11, the album
Yeah.
version. Yeah. You could go and get a sandwich in the microwave then. Well, they didn't have microwaves back then, but yeah, you could
Take some
go
apple cider. Mm.
take some apple cider vinegar. Yeah. Have a good clean out while Stairway to Heaven's on.
Yeah.
Man.
Speaking of losses, that women's soccer team. Ooh, they took that massive L. I'll tell you something. I started watching this morning. That Lambo had mentioned was that Johnny Football. I started watching a little bit of that. I probably got about 45 minutes left. I mean, everything I've seen so far is kind of what I remember, kind of how he just came in as a freshman, dominated.
You're
I
talking
didn't
about
realize,
Manziel.
yes, sir. Yep. I didn't realize how much he was partying back then, but it's, you hear it from him and his one buddy is kind of telling their story and how they started making a little bit of money doing the things and how, he set it up where he was the fall guy. So yeah, man, you're learning a lot of life lessons watching this stuff. And I do, man. I think he kind of changed the game because the way he moved around, like you didn't have. you always had your prototypical 6'4", 6'5", 230 drop back guys. He was one of the smaller guys that, they'd let him kind of move around in the pocket. He'd just find people or take off running. But
Mm-hmm.
very interested to see this last 30 minutes of it because, it's kind of the downtrot of what happened to him. And I guess he went through some really dark times there after he got cut by the Cleveland Browns. So definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, Lambo had mentioned that the other day, so yeah, started watching a little bit of that.
He was suicidal at one point, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, that's
He was really messed up. It's the story of Johnny Manziel's not a. You may think it's a happy one. It's a happy one at the beginning, but at the end, man, he really, like you said, he came through some dark times, and I'm surprised he's still around. Everything he's been through and everything he's done. That's how fast you can fall from grace when you're a professional athlete. You got to keep your nose clean. You got to have discipline. And it seems like all the discipline he had when he was coming up went right out the window with some of the things he was doing with his friends. It's just when these kids become pros, it comes a time when you've got to grow up and leave behind some of the guys that you were associating with who were doing bad things. You've got to keep your distance from them, even though they're your boys and they're your good friends. They're not going to make you any money. All they're going to do is take money out of your pocket and ruin your career in most cases. So you've got to distance yourself from them. You always hear about these pro athletes being on drugs, speeding, and they get pulled over and there's drugs in the car, or handguns, or pulling a gun on somebody. Look at what the now I'm drawing. I need the name and I'm drawing a blank. Who's the one who hired a hitman? He had
oh, was it
gang affiliations. What was that?
Aaron Hernandez?
Hernandez. Look how far that guy fell from grace. I mean, committed suicide in prison. Good Lord. And he had a beautiful girl, little baby, and just, huge prospect. And it all came crashing down with stupid decisions because you hang out with the same people who are bad for you that you hung out when you were a kid. And now they're your boys. You want to take them. You want to take them along with you for the ride, the fame ride. You want to take them along with you. They're your wingmen. But in most cases, they're not doing anything good for you whatsoever because they're still living that life. So, what do you think,
Absolutely,
Coach?
absolutely. That was the one of the things that I did get to watch in the first 45 minutes is when he got to high school. I believe they moved to an area where it was a really almost a military type like school where they would practice beforehand, they would have practice afterwards, and just discipline to the T. Everybody wore the same thing. Nobody got fancy or anything like that. It was, one team, one heartbeat type deal. He said within 6 months that he forgot every single thing that he had learned in those 4 years. So he lost his discipline. He lost his regiment that he was doing. And that's the thing, with a good regiment and good discipline, you always need to get back to that stuff because that's kind of what got him there. But he did. He said in that movie in this Netflix show that yeah, within 6 months of being at Texas A&M, he forgot all about that and who he really was. And he did. He said he's pretty much like he felt like he lived a double life there. He was Johnny Football on the field, and then off the field he was rock star Manziel. And yeah, the thing is when you have a possible chance of getting into that league right there, focus on yourself, focus on the short amount of time that you have. The average career of an NFL player, I want to say, is 2, maybe 3 years max. So all that, the parties, the women, the those the drugs, the alcohol, that stuff is always going to be around. It's always going to be available. Focus on yourself, make the most for yourself, and that will get you the best of the other stuff that you're going to put off for a few years. But yeah, focus on that stuff because it really can set you up, for the rest of your life. And, a lot of times you're going to have to be disciplined. You're going to have to be selfish. And when I mean selfish, I mean you're going to have to do what's best for yourself. And you're going to make some friends unhappy. But if they're not on that same warpath that you are trying to get onto, then they're probably going to trip you up or get in your way. So yeah, and find older mentors. Okay, find older mentors. It's tough these days because you know, nobody wants to listen to their father. Nobody wants to listen to their mother, but they'll listen to that uncle and they'll listen to that coach or they'll listen to their brother's best friend. Find that person. Find that person that you trust and have a heart to heart with them. Pull them aside. That's what life lessons are about. Learning and helping. I had a gentleman reach out to me the other day, and he said, grandparents are one of the most important things in the world. And I was like, yeah, let me hear your take on it. And he was like, well, what happens is the parents they learn from their mistakes with their own kids. Then, when their kids have kids, they don't make those same mistakes that they made with their own kids, with their grandparents. And I was like, man, there's a lot of merit to that. There's definitely a lot of merit to that. So, but yeah,
I I come from a blended family. My wife had a son and a daughter when we got married, and I had two daughters who were older. And the her daughter, well, I call her my daughter, Kira. She was 6, and Jake was 10. And Jake, you could never tell him it was ADHD. You could never tell him anything because he had to figure things out on his own. And when he couldn't figure things out on his own, he would go outside of the house for advice. He wouldn't come to my wife or me for advice or how to do anything. He'd go to a neighbor, a couple neighbors in the area. And he asked me how to do something one day. And I said, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah, blah, blah. Didn't take my advice at all. Didn't listen to me. He goes down the street, talks to the neighbor. The neighbor tells him the same exact thing. And I see him outside. He's working on his skateboard. And with 10-year-old boy, of course, that's a big thing in his life, skateboarding. He's fixing the skateboard. Oh, you're doing it the way I told you to. I'm doing it the way Joe told me down the street. I said, I told you how to do that 2 hours ago. Yeah, but I don't think you know what you were talking about. So I went there and talked to him. They always discount what the parents say. They never listen to what the parents say. His mother would give him advice on things to do. Oh, yeah. Go in one ear and out the other. If you heard it from somebody else, the kids nowadays, they got to hear it from someone else who's removed from their household. And that sort of validates what the parents say. Well, yeah, my mom and dad said that, so I guess they're not freaking crazy. Okay, so I'll do it that way then. It's just the way their minds are wired, man. It's crazy. And then I've got the grandkids will take advice from the grandparents when they're real little. 6 or 7 or whatever, 8 is when they hit a certain age. They totally ignore, when they start hitting those teen years or preteen years. They just ignore what you're saying and they go off and do what they want to do until they hear it from a neighbor or someone else's mother and father. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. And then, oh, well, hey, he was right. Mom was right. It just boggles my mind sometimes. Did Johnny Manziel not have a good support system when he was growing up?
oh, he did.
What he didn't have
Great
one?
father, great mom. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Their system. Yeah, yeah. Seemed like everything was, from what I could tell, everything, looked good. I mean, like his parents were young, when they had him, but I mean, it didn't seem like anything was really, really broken. And that's the thing we talk about all the time, Johnny. Some of the best people, come from the most broken homes of all time, and then
Mm-hmm.
some of the people that end up being the worst. They had everything kind of going for them and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, uh, I gotta finish watching it. But yeah, from what I could tell, it seemed like he had a really good support system, really good coaches. I know his first year, he won the Heisman as a freshman, which was unheard of. But I believe his second year, his going into his sophomore year, his offensive coordinator, he went to Texas Tech, which was Cliff Kingsbury, who was the head coach at Texas Tech, and then got the head coach job at Arizona. So I think that had some kind of influence on him. But even watching them talk, watching Cliff, he said that they were playing against Mississippi State,
Mm-hmm.
and he could just smell the booze off of them, from the night before, and he was sweating like a hostage, and he just told him, hey man, you've done what you've done. You better play your ass off. And he did. He had one of his best games, under the circumstance. You know what I mean? And so
Wow.
I think it's one of those where maybe he got lucky that game and just played his tail off. Um, but you can't sit there and say, well, I need to do that for the next game. That's my lucky charm type deal. You know?
What a just a story of a hell of a story of a rise to fame and a loss, a huge loss.
Yeah.
Speaking of losses, shifting gears, throwing it reverse for a second, the U.S. women's soccer team. What'd you think about that?
Man. Uh, You know, I, I saw that penalty kick and it was like, wow, you almost kicked the thing out of the freaking stadium. Like, what a choke job that
Right.
was.
Awful. She's a
Yeah,
professional soccer player. I just
yeah,
think that I looked on social media the last couple of days, and no one said, "Man, I'm sorry they lost. Too bad for them. I feel terrible for them." No one said anything like that. It's all. I mean, you can disparage this country that we live in. You can tell everyone how terrible it is, but folks, that's the media. Not everyone thinks America is terrible. Hey, it's like a drunken uncle. America's got a lot of faults, but it's always going to be there for you, and it's got inherently great principles behind it. And this is a great country, and regardless of who's leading the country, and these women have badmouthed America for the last 5 years, and people are just tired of it. They were sick of it. Glad to see you go, Rapinoe.
bye,
Glad to see
Felicia.
you go.
Yeah, yep, I totally
She
agree, man.
I saw that play. Like you said, she looked like she was trying to kick it out of the stadium.
Yeah,
It was
mhm.
unbelievable. As close as she was to the goal. And just
I'll have to
not
talk
even,
to Mr. Biggs. Maybe she had to put a max wager in on Sweden winning the whole
she might
thing.
have. Who knows? That goes on in professional sports a lot. So, yeah. Well, I'm not saying women's soccer isn't a professional sport, folks. It's just, it's a pro sport, but I have no love for Megan Rapinoe. I don't care if she's a lesbian. I don't care who she loves. I don't care who anybody loves. If you're just as far as I'm concerned, a rotten person, then I got no love for you at all. But it is what it is.
Amen, brother. Amen. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. The first slate of preseason football games. I believe the Bucks have a Friday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers here. We sold our tickets to some of our best friends we used to live by there in Plant City. Amazing family. So look, I'm glad they're getting to go to it and everything. And I guess a couple of them have never gone to a game a game at the Buck Stadium, so they're going to go and check that out. Happy to hook them up. I mean, I love football, but let me tell you what, this time of year it is so brutal, and
Temperature
it,
wise.
Yeah, and just the games, they don't really have any, like it's important to see who gets playing time and who's going to be the starters, but keeping those guys healthy is more important. And I would rather go catch a high school football game, this time of year, because all that means something to those kids. So that's probably what I'm going to do possibly next Friday. I know Lakewood has their home opener against Paul Meadows, so I'll probably try to get in the building for that if the missus allows me. Got to run it past her.
Folks down in Florida, where we both live, now, Coach lives down by the tip, and I'm in the center. And we've got huge heat advisories going on this week for the state of Florida. Now, yesterday in Central Florida, where I'm at, by the lakes, 111 degrees with the heat index. Today it's going to be 117 with the heat index. Coach, I can only imagine what you're dealing with down there where you're at. What was it? What
Yeah,
was the heat index yesterday where you were? Do you know offhand?
yeah,
I know it was
probably close to
probably
120.
brutal.
Yeah,
120?
yeah, it's probably about
Man.
that. Yeah, you just keep hydrated, keep
Yeah.
hydrated.
Well, you could just jump right in the water there.
Yeah,
You
we
just
get a
tell
better
Malaysia
breeze.
you just tell Malaysia if you don't see me come back up, go in and get me.
Oh, she will. Look, you
Pull
just
me
said
out.
that. Look at it. She's looking in the water now.
There she is, looking for her friends.
Yeah.
You know what I meant to ask you? How's your nephew doing?
Oh, he's doing good, man. I mean,
Oh,
he's a
that's good.
wrestler. He's a wrestler, so
Right.
he's already ready for wrestling season. He had a couple bruises and everything, and
No
he's
neck
got that
injury or
old
anything like
school.
that?
Oh, no, he's got that old school mentality that chicks dig scars. So it's like, yeah, man, like that's the thing. Take a nap while you're not behind the wheel, buddy.
Right.
He gets that. He gets that. But yeah, he's definitely doing a lot better and everything. But I'll tell you that having that wrestler mentality is just they're just whole different animals. Like their
Mm-hmm.
quit level is just a lot different. And I've coached both sports. I've coached football and I've coached wrestling. And you want to have guys from the wrestling team on the football team because those guys, I mean, in football you're usually learning how to take a man to the ground or not be taken to the ground. And with the offensive line and defensive line, you're trying to get off of a person, and an offensive line, you're trying to, lock onto the guys. So they do have a lot together, that both kind of help each other. With wrestlers, they know it's one on one, and so in football, when you're blocking, the way a lot of football works, Johnny, is it'll be like say it's me and you, and we're side by side. Well, we got to
Mm-hmm.
get these two guys. All right, one might line up right in between us, and then one is staggered on each side. But that's how it works in football. Like us two got those two. Well, when you're a wrestler, you don't mind saying, dude, I got this guy all day. You know what I mean? Like you don't mind going one on one with anybody because that's what wrestling is. And I love the sport because you're going against somebody your size. Football. I mean, there were times when I was playing where I'd be playing inside and I was maybe 220, 230, just soaking wet, and I'm going up against a guy that's 350. You know what I mean? I'm going up against a freaking fire hydrant. You know, and so, yeah, I'm not trying to come off and match power with him. I'm a finesse and speed right to him real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, both sports they just transition well to each, and the wrestlers make the best tacklers. And there's been some guys that you know did both that were really phenomenal. I mean, Brock Lesnar's one guy that
Oh
comes to
yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Roddy White, wide receiver, he was one. Probably one of the greatest linebackers of all time, arguably one of the greatest linebackers of all time. I'm a huge Dick Butkus fan, but Ray Lewis. Ray
Mm-hmm.
Lewis was a All-State, football player and All-State wrestler here in the state of Florida. I believe Kathleen High School. But yeah, anything else you got? You want to chime in on, my brother?
We've got a special guest this Sunday for the SCM podcast. We've got someone who you know, May. Does she go by Diaz or Gomez?
Uh, I
I've
know it's
seen it
May.
either way online. She's May Valentine, folks, from If you watch NWA Power on the internet, the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, was purchased by Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, I believe, in 2010. He's owned it, and it's still existing. It's still, I wouldn't say thriving, but it's a good old school wrestling show on YouTube. You can see it, and also on their website. And Mae Valentine is a trained professional wrestler. She functions now as a backstage interviewer and PR person for NWA. She's an accomplished author. She's written several articles for the Brazilian version, because she is Brazilian, the Brazilian version of Rolling Stone magazine. Spanish language articles are in there, and she's written several. And some of those articles have been translated over to English for the English version of Rolling Stone magazine. You probably find that online, rollingstone.com. And she's also written several articles for newspapers and magazines, things like that. And she's easy on the eyes, folks. She's a swimsuit model, fitness enthusiast. And is there another magazine in her in the future here, or should I save that for the show? I'll talk to her about it on the show Friday. I mean Sunday.
You nailed it. Yeah, tune in, man.
Yeah.
She's a rock star, and she's been through a ton of adversity, and we could not be more happy to have her join us and just see what she's doing, see how we can support her and everything. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And I'll just give a huge shout out here to Cultivate Wellness. Check out the website, plenty of good stuff on there. Sideline design,
Mm-hmm.
keeping us looking fly. If you're a high school, college, pro team, anybody, you need the best graphics in the world, go to those guys. They will make you famous. They have sports cards, you name it. You name it, we'll put it on a t-shirt, and we can all look fly together. And big shout out to St. Pete Rejuvenate as well. Uh, if you struggle with weight loss, check us out. We've had clients lose a ton of weight. We just recently had Miss Sarah Blake Cheek drop 25 pounds. And to me, that is just amazing. I don't even know if it's been 3 months, but I know this. I know I can not eat for one day and lose 10 pounds. My wife can starve herself for a month and gain a pound. Our bodies are just different, but somehow she has just
Yeah.
worked her tail off. She's dialed in her diet, and she's come to see us every weekend. And yeah, she's doing phenomenal. Depression, if you suffer from massive depression or if you're having anxiety, uh, check us out. The ketamine infusions have been phenomenal. It also helps with chronic pain. Let us know. We're here for you guys. If you need a facial, we have Wendy. She is a magician. She will make you feel amazing. We have an amazing Botox person, our Botox girl. She is phenomenal. She will take good care of you. So check out our website as well. But besides that, Totem Pole Nation, thank you guys for checking us out. Like us, subscribe to us, follow Johnny Bottles on Twitter. Check us out. We're both on Twitter, Coach Bald. Log on, Totem Pole Nation. Coach Taylor apparently still hungover from his birthday. The only guy I know hungover from a birthday that doesn't even drink. How about that?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I hope he's sleeping in today. That's got to be the reason
Yeah,
why he's not here.
yeah. I'm thinking not. I think they just had to move up their scrimmage. They got Verona tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So they just moved that up due to their weather. I guess they're getting some thunderstorms up there. So it's been
They got hit with
really,
some bad weather. Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
saw pictures of Westminster, Maryland, where just down the main drag, all these utility poles all knocked down. It's like two of them got the rest came with it. Just a sea of
Wow.
utility poles. People sitting at red lights, and the poles come crashing down on their cars. It's unbelievable.
It is
Unbelievable.
tornado and hurricane season, guys. So be aware, be careful.
Yes.
Okay. Totem Pole Nation, thank you guys. To the next episode.
See ya.